And welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab, that's me, and Les Jackson, that's him. Hey, Les, how you
That
doing?
would be me. Excellent, Fred, as usual. We have a lot of neat stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we sure do, and we're going to get rolling with Nissan and Honda. That merger deal, it's the story that keeps going
hmm
until it doesn't go, because Nissan might tell Honda, hey, no thanks, thanks for playing. And they might team up with a high-tech company. So we'll talk about who that might be.
Yep, we will see. And over at Jeep, they're showing off their more affordable Wagoneer S Limited. I got to see that in person at the DC Auto Show last week.
And more affordable is relative, but it is more affordable.
Well, I was about to say, it depends on your definition of affordable, but it is less expensive
Less expensive, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
than it could have been.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then Ford announced this week, Jim Farley announced that he wants to get into extended range vehicles in a big way. Of course, Ram has already done this with Ram Charger. They have it. It's coming out this year. And Jim Farley says he wants to get into extended range electric vehicles. We'll talk about what that means for the brand. I'm sure it will be trucks, not cars, right?
Well, I'm sure it will be. And I just, when we talk about this, I just keep thinking too many eggs in the basket. But
Yes.
we'll talk. Anyway, why bigger and heavier vehicles don't always mean what you drive will be safer. We're
Yes.
going to give you lots of information on that.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And, that's a big thing. It's kind of an old way of thinking. Well, I'll have a big truck, and if I get in
hmm
an accident, that will keep me safe. So we'll talk about that. And always interesting to hear things from the IIHS, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. And then we're going to talk tech. This is an interesting one, Les. When I first saw this vehicle, I thought, well, it's a land speed vehicle. It is from Renault. It is actually a high efficiency vehicle, and they're looking to press the outer limits of efficiency. So we will talk about this in our Talk and Tech segment. Does look like they're going for the land speed record there, and it doesn't hurt that it's
Sure
on the salt
does.
flats, does it?
Yeah, and it also looks like the newest Batman mobile
Yes, it does.
for whatever number in this series they're up to.
Yes.
It's very cool looking. And also Porsche wants you to set time your own record on the Nürburgring.
They're going to break it
I
with the GT3, which is
They're
pretty
going to break
interesting.
it with the GT3, but they want to get a whole bunch of individual records.
So it's all good here. GT3,
hmm
the manual transmission record. That's what they're going for at the Nürburgring. While they still can, while there are still manual cars, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, yes, but they've got their professional drivers,
yeah, well,
and they've and these professional drivers over there in Germany have driven the ring, maybe 5 to 10,000 times.
yeah, good stuff.
Um, yeah.
So all that and more is coming up on this edition of Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Let's get started with this story about Nissan dumping Honda when it comes to the deal. The deal being the merger between Nissan and Honda. We know Mitsubishi is not part of that deal. They've already announced that. But
Right.
but what would it be like if Honda doesn't go together with Nissan? And it's looking more and more like that because Nissan was told they have to be very profitable by the end of the month. They have to get rid of Renault as their partner and all this, that, and the other thing. And
And Honda also wants to see Nissan as a subsidiary rather than a partner.
yes,
So that upsets the Nissan people, certainly. So they're looking elsewhere, and it seems like they've found a couple good possibilities.
yeah. Look no further than your Apple phone, your iPhone.
Yeah.
Foxconn, the company that builds um, those phones and some other technology, according to Reuters, a Reuters anonymous source, they are looking to team up with Foxconn and use their technology and their software to join together and build cars. Of course, Foxconn builds the iPhone. Could this be the rebirth of the Apple car?
Yeah. Wow.
I always thought
Uh,
this would be a great way to have a new manufacturer by combining it with someone that knows how to make doors work and windshield wipers and things like that, which a lot of startups were like, well, we'll do that ourselves, right? A lot of electric startups.
Well, the interesting thing is, and I didn't know this, Foxconn has already a fledgling EV research department.
Okay.
And of course, Nissan knows how to build cars. Um, and they really are looking for what they say is dyed in the wool technology experts to be able to rely on stuff, telematics, and everything in their vehicles. This could be sort of a happy merge.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's an interesting concept for that. And I don't know. Because what's going to happen, I still go back to what the head of Honda said when he was asked, what's the best part of this deal? And he's like, I don't know. How is it beneficial for Honda? Can't really tell you. Probably an honest answer.
Yeah.
And I still think, and I don't know anything about how deep Nissan's financial problems are, but they're pretty deep. But are they jumping the gun on this? Should they, really? They have a new head of Nissan America who has a plan, to build sales and that. They have new product coming out. Should they
Yeah.
kind of slow their roll on this? What do you think?
I don't know. We have no idea what the internal politics are in these things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's obvious that Nissan really really wants a partner soon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're on a very short leash
Mm-hmm.
before, yeah, as you say, serious um, money saving. Well, I don't know. I don't even know how much money they've got to save.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Not much.
I mean, they've had some failures. Kind of the Z car has not been a big seller. It's a great looking vehicle, but not selling. They're doing big discounts on them. I haven't seen one on the road, frankly.
I
Uh,
haven't
it,
either.
it's a good looking vehicle, though, for sure. But they have the kicks coming out. They have their electric vehicle coming out. They have hybrid Rogue coming out. I mean, they do have some things in the pipeline. Um,
They do, and the Rogue, as we know, is a heck of a big seller. Um,
mm-hmm,
well, we both hope that they hang on. It seems to me if Fox has already been, but working on developing an EV, that it seems more natural to join with Nissan, but
mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, they also have a lot of excess plant capabilities. They're getting the stopping the Titan. They have a great pickup truck in the Frontier. Um, there
Yeah,
were some problems, quality problems with that, but they can get them dialed in. So I don't know. We'll have to see. This is a story that we'll just keep on at cruise control because It just keeps going and going and going. I don't think the Honda thing is going to mesh up. I don't think Honda needs them. They have
I
some of the best
yeah,
selling vehicles. They have hybrids.
yeah.
They are a full line manufacturer. They have successful sedans. Uh, I think Honda should just go on their own. The big question is, will Mitsubishi be able to survive on its own? Um,
Well, maybe I agree with you about Honda. I think they're just thinking, we don't need these guys. It's just a whole lot of extra paperwork.
right.
Um, However, if Fox merges with them, then I
Foxconn.
think
Foxconn.
Foxconn,
Hmm.
um, then I think there's a real opportunity for Mitsubishi to get back in partnership with Nissan.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? What do
Yeah,
you think?
well,
Let us
we'll,
know, in your opinion,
yeah,
will this merger ever come off, or will it be Nissan and Foxconn or somebody else like that? It's an excellent opportunity for someone that wants to build vehicles but doesn't know about all the nuts and bolts stuff on how to put them together to say, hey, we got that part. And Nissan say, we need the new technology. So it's a great, it could be a great symbiotic relationship for somebody to
could
get
be.
into. Yeah.
And, there could be phone deals and
You get a free
I don't know.
phone with every
You
vehicle.
get a
How's
free phone with it. Those
it?
phones are expensive.
Buy now. Yeah. Buy now. Or the whole thing runs off a phone. How about that? it's,
Well,
it's
they're
just a
we're
giant
already
iPhone.
doing that with
We're
some
already doing that.
manufacturers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, so interesting stuff. Uh, you and I have talked about manufacturers wanting to make vehicles more affordable. It's something that we've
right,
been
right,
talking a lot about on Cruise Control. And manufacturers, for the most part, are starting to respond, including Jeep. Jeep this week in Chicago revealed a more affordable Wagoneer S. Wagoneer S is the all electric Wagoneer. And they've come up with something called the Jeep Wagoneer S Limited, which they call well
right.
equipped, competitively priced, and available for order. So there was the Jeep Wagoneer S Launch Edition, which was over $71,000. The limited now will start at $66,995. It will not have as much power as the Launch Edition, but you can buy that as an over-the-air upgrade. So in a sense, yeah, it's less expensive, but you may want that power, and you're going to have to buy it later. It's just not on the price ticket. Um, but they're both the models are equipped with the same pair of electric motors, all-wheel drive, and they produce between 500 and 600 horsepower. Um, it just seems like an interesting way for Stellantis to make something more affordable, because 66,000 sounds a lot better than almost
Well,
72,000.
yes. Again, this isn't uh, inexpensive,
No.
but it does it does get those who want one of these, um, and they've been looking at Wagoneers, including the monster Wagoneer, well over 100,000.
Hmm.
Um, and they say, well, wait a minute, I think I could spring 66,000.
Yes.
Um, and I think it's just a great way to get some number of new buyers in there.
Yes.
And we know it'll run well. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's got a fast charge,
it's
23
well
minutes.
well equipped. It's not like you're getting the small screen here or whatever. It
That's
has a
right.
maximum usable screen size of more than 45 inches, best in class. How will you tell it? Black roof and mirror caps, low profile exterior badging, 20-inch machined aluminum wheels, dual pane panoramic sunroof, 10-way heated front seats. Sounds pretty good. Doesn't sound like it's stripped out. Um, and above
No,
that,
no, no. It's good.
you would go for this, I'm sure. The 920-watt Macintosh audio stereo. That's optional.
That's right.
Audio
That's
system.
you just haven't heard Lawrence Welk until you
Until he
have
rattles your fillings.
a
uh,
well, an accordion sounds completely different.
Now, you can
It,
get that propulsion boost package, which will take it up to the launch edition 600 horsepower. I guess this has got 500 horsepower. You can get that over the air, called the propulsion boost package, that takes up to 600. Late availability, and the Obsidian appearance package. Um, I would say that. Oh, by the way, the Limited also has two new exterior colors that are specific to this, including hydro blue and Arctic gray. So,
yeah,
I gotta say, when you talk about Stellantis, they have jumped to it and figured out interesting ways to make things more affordable very quickly after the departure of Carlos Tavares, right?
that's very true. I mean, it really is like they were all waiting in their offices with the doors closed for him to leave, and then they ran out in the hall and said, "Hey, look what we've got,"
Yeah, yeah,
um, which probably is true in a lot of cases. But
yeah. Well,
there's tremendous. I mean, I could see it last week when I was talking to the Stellantis people. There's just energy, there's optimism, there's excitement.
they also
It's
did you talk to anyone about where their plans are for Chrysler? Because now
well,
Chrysler is a minivan only brand.
yes,
Imagine
yes,
that's all they have. No more 300, no more 200. That is all they have is a minivan. It's a good minivan, the Pacifica.
I
But
did ask them, and they said, "Stay tuned."
okay, um, I
Now
would
you
like
know everything I know.
I would like to see them, and they say they will do this. Come out with their own um, crossover. I'd love it to be a hybrid. They do have hybrid drivetrain, of course, in the
Yep, yep,
Pacifica, which is probably the best. I mean, it's starting to look old now, but I tell you, with stow and go seating available, that's the best seating. With the hybrid available, all-wheel drive available, incredible interiors, it's a great product, but it's still a minivan, which is no longer the big uh, segment, right?
yeah. SUVs have pretty well um, made minivans obsolete.
Yeah, but they do have a good one. So I'm sure Chrysler dealers are clamoring, but I would love to see a hybrid SUV, something that would blow me out of the water. I think would be great. I'm sure they've got some plans to do that. What else would they put in their
Yeah.
lineup? Who knows? I don't know.
We don't know, but I suspect before this year is over, we're going to see a lot of announcements from Stellantis.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do you think they could maybe leverage some of Alpha and build
I'm
a
sure. I'm
a
sure.
little bit different take on an Alfa Romeo? Uh, Not a minivan version of it, but
That's right. Well, they certainly want to get Alpha much more into this country, and Fiat as well. So, who knows? Maybe there'll be a Chrysler version of a Fiat 500,
right.
um, which wouldn't be such a stupid idea as it sounds. Uh,
It is an interesting idea for
yeah,
sure. for sure. While we're on Stellantis, they have, of course, the Ram Charger coming up, and that will be an extended range electric. It will have a
Hmm.
Pentastar V6 that charges the battery. It's not connected to the drivetrain in any way. It's basically acting as a generator to constantly top off the batteries in the vehicle. You can charge them as well, but then, when that battery gets depleted, the engine starts and it starts charging the battery before it gets depleted. Exactly. It's the Chevy
Right.
Volt. They couldn't explain it way back when, GM, and of course they had a good idea
So,
and they stopped it. So that's kind of what they do. But over at Ford, there is some interest in extended range electrics. And he thinks, Jim Farley, he is the guy we're talking about, the CEO, says extended range EVs work better for large cars and trucks, although they don't build large cars, but they do build trucks. And they are working on extended range motor engine technology. So this was indicated during their fiscal call to Wall Street analysts this past Wednesday. So extended range vehicles offer a range of 700 miles, and 95% of their miles run on pure battery and costing tens and tens of thousands of dollars less using far smaller batteries than pure EVs. They're also lighter, aren't they? It's kind of funny that to say
yeah.
that something with an engine like that is lighter, but um,
Well, but they are considerably lighter than EVs. Batteries are heavy.
yeah. So I think this is a great way forward. Um, it's basically you're building a locomotive. It's sort of that's how
Yeah.
locomotives work. Um, we're going to see more of these, and even Nissan. Who knows what's happening with Nissan? But Nissan has talked about this. Um, I would even venture a guess, and I don't know what this is engineering wise. I always thought on the Chevy Volt they had I think a 2 liter, maybe it was a 1.4 liter 4 cylinder. In the Ram Charger, they're going to have a 3.6 liter V6. Why do they need such a big engine to charge the battery? Because that's an engine that could pull that vehicle along by itself in a base
Well,
model, right?
that's right. And really, you don't. I guess it's just a question of wanting to have the capability of the engine doing additional work. I mean, you're well. Let's say it's a 100 kilowatt battery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no, let's say it's a 75 kilowatt battery.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying that is because that's 100 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
745 watts equals 1 horsepower.
Okay.
Um, so, so you only need, if you think about it, to generate electricity for the battery, you only need, in the silliest end, you only need a couple horsepower engine. But in order to run a generator that's capable of generating 100 kilowatts, you do need some, in a reasonable time, you do need some power. The engine would have to be somewhere around 75, 85 horsepower,
Okay. So a Pentastar,
which doesn't, that's not much of an engine if you think
no,
about it.
must have 200 horsepower, at least a
Yeah.
V6.
I don't think you need that much power. I think a 100 horsepower engine would, and it's a constant speed engine. It's
Yeah.
generally 3,400 RPM.
And that's you find the sweet spot for that.
Right.
34 would maybe the V6 is running at lower RPM than that cuz that would be
Or, well, you could
screaming for
gear it. Yeah.
yeah.
You could gear it, and you're, of course, creating AC.
I remember being on a hybrid an extended range hybrid bus. It was a prototype in New York City a long time ago. And it was the weirdest thing because you could hear the engine, and we're
Yeah.
stopped at a bus stop, and it's going through the gears. It's
Yeah.
going. It sounds like it's coming up on the gear, and then it was. I was like, how can that be? We're not moving. It was just the bizarrest thing. We're
Yeah.
not driving up the hill and it's downshifting into a gear, but that's what it was doing. I guess it was getting to its efficient, but it sounded like a transmission. It would go.
Yeah. Because it's altering its power input depending on the demand of the battery.
Mm-hmm.
So it's acting like a valve.
And in the case of the
Um,
buses, I believe that was a straight six Cummins diesel, that would be in a pickup, but it was just acting as the generator for the batteries. So it was really ahead of its time. It was just a bizarre experience to hear those gears
yeah.
shifting without going anywhere. It's like this must be the biggest slipping automatic transmission in the world. Did not.
That's right.
Yeah, that's like you're going to need a new
Yeah.
transmission. But I'm going to let you intro this next story because this is something near and dear to your heart. You talk about it all the time. Large vehicles, people driving large vehicles. I'll just get a big vehicle and then I'll be safe. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety says not so much after a recent study, right?
Well, yes. This is something that's been a pet peeve of mine for forever.
Mm-hmm.
And the IIHS, which of course crash tests everything,
Mm-hmm.
is saying so that just because these vehicles are big, like Suburbans and Armadas, um, it doesn't mean that the occupants are safer in a head-on collision.
Okay.
Um, and it also depends on whether or not they're properly belted in or
Right.
any other factors. Obviously, the people in the vehicle that thing hits in a head-on collision are in really serious danger.
It's called physics.
Um, but they say for vehicles that weigh less than the fleet average, which I'm guessing, do we have a number on the fleet average? That's all vehicles.
Would it be
I'm
3,500
guessing,
pounds, something like
oh,
that?
I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
I think it's more like 4,500,
Okay.
certainly above
Okay,
4,000.
here it is. This study sample was 4,000 pounds.
Okay, now that's 2 tons.
Yes. And then,
Uh, so, so anyway, if they weigh less than 2 tons, the risk that occupants will be killed in a crash decreases for every 500 pounds of additional weight.
okay.
Um, but the benefits top out quickly. For vehicles that weigh more than the fleet average, there's hardly any decrease in risk for occupants associated with additional poundage. So, but there's also a greater danger of a big vehicle rolling over
Mm-hmm.
because of just conditions or bad driver. And when you roll over, doesn't matter how many airbags you've got everywhere, you're bouncing around like a ping pong ball.
Yep. Yep.
And that is not something you want to do.
No, it's
I,
not good for long-term.
yeah. So for American drivers, IIH President David Harkey said for American drivers, the conventional wisdom is if it's bigger, it's safer. Even bigger must be safer still. And he says that the results show this not true.
All of a sudden,
Uh,
everyone's driving a
that's
F-550
right.
dually.
Yeah,
I
it's
gotta go get bread. I better take the dually. You know.
that's right. If one bowl of ice cream is enough, then two bowls must be even better.
Well,
Um,
wait a minute. Now, an
no,
ice cream that might hold.
well, I no, I agree with you there. I'll take the two bowls. Um, but the occupants of the large vehicles themselves are not safer. They might be less safe depending on where they're sitting, size of them, how
Yeah.
well they're belted in.
Yeah.
Sadly, rear seat passengers have a much lower seatbelt wearing rate than front seat passengers. Front
Hence,
seats are up
they're
to
going to
about
have
88%.
warnings in for rear seat passengers. That's coming,
Yeah.
2027,
You're
I
not
think.
safe back there. If you think you're safe back there,
I'll
not
just
wearing a
hold
seatbelt,
on, real stiff when
yeah, just
wear the seatbelts. It's
don't
proven.
think that.
You don't
Yeah,
think about it as a race car. They always say you want to be one with the car. If you have a event, as they call a crash, an event, you want to just stay with
that's
the
right.
car, and it will let it dissipate the energy. Well, the other
But
thing is, too, Les, big vehicles, they think, well, I'll just be like a battering ram and I'll go through. They're
yeah,
designed to destroy themselves anyway, aren't they?
they are just like your car, and they're designed to die to keep you
Mm-hmm.
alive.
Yeah.
And the good news here is the IIHS says that the compatibility across vehicle types has improved
Okay.
in the last 15 years or so.
You mean like bumper
With
heights and things?
bumper heights, um, crushability, and those sorts of things. That does not include the people who jack up
Or
their
that squat
pickup
one where the
trucks.
trucks are like this,
Yeah,
like a air
um,
catcher underneath. Yeah.
that's right. So for many years, they said SUVs and pickups posed an outsized threat because of their force-absorbing structures were not aligned, but it changed, and now the crumple zones are much even though you may be driving a Corolla
Mm-hmm.
and I'm driving an Armada,
Okay.
uh, the crumple zones are pretty close to each other.
Interesting. And a lot of that's thanks to
Yeah,
IIHS too, testing these things.
and I will be down at their crash test facility on April 24th.
And if they say who would like to volunteer their car, just don't raise your hand.
Oh, I was going to volunteer yours.
No, I would not. I would not recommend doing any of that to anyone. Yeah,
No, no,
say, well, let's
they've
use
got
yours.
yeah, no, they've got vehicles set up for crashing, and this is what they do,
Yeah.
and it's very violent.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Wear your safety glasses. I would recommend.
well, you also now, of course, we can't be in the
No, I
big
don't.
garage when it's crashing.
Right.
We're in a control room looking out,
Mm-hmm.
um, but we can go in after it's crashed and
Don't
look at the damage and look at the dummies.
don't pick up sharp things or touch sharp
Yeah,
things.
I have a list of people that I've offered them to use as dummies, and,
Let's get some real world tests. Yeah.
and yeah,
Well,
but
get back
yeah,
to this whole thing about heavier is better. You think of some of these. We were just talking about smaller batteries in vehicles, extended range batteries. That's another plus.
yes,
They're lighter, so it means they're more in line
hmm
with other vehicles. Also, you're not going to like burn up your tires and your suspension and everything else, and roads. You're not going to, wear
yeah,
and tear on the roads. I mean, why do trucks have to stay within 80,000 pounds, and if they go over, they have to pay, get a license or
that's right.
permit, to pay more money because you're
One
wearing the
one
road out.
heavy haul truck does the same damage to a road as 9,000 cars
Right.
driving over the same spot.
So that
Um,
means you're going to put more wear
and
and tear on that
that's
cabinet.
right. And the lighter um, vehicle, obviously the weight begets weight. If you have a whole lot of weight, you need much bigger tires, you need much bigger brakes, you need much bigger suspensions, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So um, you know, they try to, the manufacturers, engineers are pretty clever people, and they design things as light as they can.
Well, while we're
Uh,
on big trucks, let's talk about the Ford Super Duty. And
yeah.
this is a problem. People are stealing the tail lights, which can go up,
Hmm.
according to this article, as high as $6,000 because they're loaded with LEDs, sensors, and
Wow.
other things. And they are just opening up the truck beds and basically unscrewing them and taking them out. And one group sold
Hmm.
or was found with $92,000 worth of taillights from 34 victims. This was in Texas. I wouldn't be stealing someone's taillights in
This a
Texas
tail
because
light is costing that much money?
and it's right at the edge, the back edge of the vehicle. So people are going to back into stuff and smash them. I mean, I had a neighbor who someone backed into his car, and I said, "You're lucky you didn't get the headlight damage. That could be $2,000 just to buy it, to
Wow.
buy a
Wow.
replacement." So, yeah, you think about that design wise. That's right at the back corner of a truck. You're going to back into a loading dock or whatever. What's going to go first? The plastic thing at the back of it, right? And
Yeah.
in the old days it was like, yeah, you get a new lens, but now they have parking sensors in them. They have lane sensing in them. They have
Yep.
LEDs, and it's a problem. And as I say, I wouldn't go stealing anything off of someone's truck in Texas if if you know what I mean. Because
Exactly.
you can use whatever you want on someone for stealing your stuff down in Texas. It's not like you have to yell at them. You don't have to say anything. You can respond to them in a
Yeah.
very intense way. Let's just say, if you know what I mean.
It's yes.
Don't mess with someone's
Texas.
truck in Texas. Yeah.
Don't mess with a truck in Texas.
Yes.
You could end up,
Really
leaving most
regretting it.
all of your teeth there,
Or more.
and or everything there.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
I think it would be a very dangerous thing to do. Uh, let's talk a little tech. The Renault Falante,
Filante.
although Renault is French, so I don't know
Well,
how. That's more of
uh,
an Italian pronouncer, but
the well, yes, Filante means please pass me a cigarette.
this
No, I think it's probably Filante.
it looks like a land speed car for sure.
It does very much.
And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, they're going to be going for the land speed record. How interesting. But really, it is a rolling laboratory to um, basically become as efficient as possible with an electric vehicle. It is about 14 inches longer than, let's say, a Lexus LC 500, but 6 inches. Uh, that it's about 14 inches longer than a Lexus LC 500. The uh, hood covers a glass bubble, and they have a yoke steering, steer by wire, brake by wire. It's basically a technology demonstrator on how to be
Yeah.
efficient. And it was inspired by a vehicle built, previous vehicles, Volantes built in 1925 and 1956, respectively, which set historic records for the brand in efficiency. I think it's very cool, and I think drive by wire. I'm not sure why drive by wire has not become a common thing, meaning that there's
It's it
no
is
shaft.
it is pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
Um, BMW uses it pretty much exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
But there are you have safety. The technology is how do you do that and make it safe?
Well, that's it. That's it, because there'd
Uh,
be no
and
mechanical
I
connection.
I think By the way, I think I speak for you when I say I really want to drive this thing.
Yeah, yeah, it is
It's,
pretty cool. It is very cool, very cool.
uh, but you know, it's this is every car company has rolling test beds.
Mm-hmm.
But Renault, man, I mean, they know how to do it right.
Yes, yes, very, very, very cool stuff. Well, let's move over. Let's stay on performance of a different nature and talk a little bit about Ferrari. Ferrari is big into customization at the factory. You can have it your way.
Hmm.
But they want to blacklist people that have their Ferraris customized by outside shops that do not maintain the dignity of the Ferrari brand. They showed one guy wrapped his new Ferrari in like a camo wrap. They want to have a say in how their cars are modified even after they're sold. How about that?
I I'm all for that, and the reason I'm all for that is there is a Ferrari around here
Mm-hmm.
that is not only in a it's a camouflage pattern, but the colors are just sickeningly bright oranges and greens, and uh,
Sounds wonderful.
you just
It's,
want to open the car door and hit him.
yeah.
Um, and it's also jacked up. He jacked up the suspension.
Why would you do that?
And,
Why would anyone do
well,
that?
why would anyone do that? And I've seen it 3 times in the last year. Um, and I'm 100% with Ferrari. I think they should come over and just take it back and say, "Here's your money. Don't ever buy a Ferrari again."
What is the legality of that, though? I mean,
Oh, I don't think you can make anybody
that looks
change
gorgeous
it.
in silver like that, too. I mean, I
I
don't
mean,
particularly
it's
like the yellow gold color, but these are factory color. Red, stick with red. You're pretty safe with red, aren't you?
that's right. That's right.
That's always a good sports car color.
Red works just fine. Ferrari red is a registered color.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the only thing they can do is offer to buy the car, and then you couldn't even prevent your dealers from selling them another.
Mm. Well, wow.
That's you know,
I don't know what you. Only reminds me of what Ford did with the GT um, when they said you
mhm.
can't. You have to sign a agreement that says you won't sell this for a year. And
Well,
remember,
now
John
that
Sienna violated it,
oh
right?
yeah, but
And
that would be a legal contract then. If you sell something, a Ferrari to somebody, you
mhm.
can have them sign a contract. They will never alter the exterior beyond, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, you have to send an approval of like, hey, I'm thinking of using these wheels, or I want to add this vinyl stripe to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, although you can't legislate good taste.
No, you can't. And again, this person that I've seen, I mean, you really do just want to
Like, why'd you do
you
that?
want to
Or
you
now
want to
I'll buy
set
it from you for like $7,000, even though it's worth
yeah,
70,000 because you
and
won't sell it.
set it on fire.
Well, I don't think the limit of Ferrari saying you can't customize the following Ferraris would follow. Hot Wheels will once again this spring
Hot
start
Wheels.
making Ferraris. They haven't made a Ferrari diecast since 2014, and
Huh.
that's changing because of a licensing agreement. It will now be able to do it. They make their mainline dollar um, Hot Wheels and even remote control cars. They can make Ferraris. The last model that Hot Wheels toys made was a LaFerrari in 2014. but now they will be once again able to make them. Of course, Hot Wheels are the most popular toy ever. They sell one like every 6 seconds or something.
As it should be, Fred.
I look through the Hot Wheels end of the tub that they. I always look for what they have in there. I think it's
You know,
fun.
it's funny. I guess the Hot Wheels came after I reached whatever degree of maturity I reached. Um, I've never owned a Hot Wheels.
Big. This is a
Um,
big admission
Many
on
people
there.
I know own lots of them.
Yeah, I had
Um,
Matchboxes and Hot Wheels.
yeah, see, they're very cool. I mean, I look at them when I go into the stores, and
Yeah,
I think, how can they make this and sell it so cheap?
yeah, and it's a cheap toy that you could literally go to the store if you had a kid and just buy them a couple of them, for a couple of bucks and say, "Hey, I got you
Right.
something. I got you a little something." Yeah, I think they're fun. I think they're fun, and it fosters interest in cars, and we like that for future audience.
We like that.
Yeah. So good stuff. Good stuff. And who knows? Maybe I'll buy a Ferrari in the future. I'll go for a buck. That would be.
Listen, I'll go for a buck on that too.
I'm a, as they said on American Pickers. I'm a player for $1.
Yeah, I can
I,
do that. I
yeah,
can do that.
yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we should talk about the Porsche. Porsche. We should talk about Porsche getting set to break with their company driver the Nürburgring
Yep.
manual transmission record, and it is going to be done with a manual transmission GT3. Um, and I guess I'd have to look what the last record was for this. Oh, okay. It was in the Dodge Viper ACR over 6 years ago. The record was
Huh.
broken. Now they're going to come out with the GT3 and try to break that record. And I'm sure that's something that involves a lot of practice to know what gear to be in. And their driver will be doing this, right?
I thought Corvette broke the record a couple years ago.
Well, they haven't had any manuals in that since the
Oh, it's strictly a manual.
C7.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the manual record.
7 minutes and 1 second. That's a 13.8 mile track with 146 turns.
How many shifts, I wonder?
Oh, hundreds, hundreds.
uh,
Um, and well, but that means you've just gone 14 miles in 7 minutes, so you've got to be averaging 120.
yeah,
Averaging.
yes, yes. And
Hmm.
previously, they've used the GT3, but it has the PDK dual clutch automatic equipped vehicle in the GT3 transmission. And you think about that. I'm anxious to see what they'll be able to come up with and compare it to, something that's shifted automatically. It's a lot of it's a lot of work to do all those turns
It sure is. You're
and if
losing a half to 2/3 of a second every time you shift.
yeah, uh, all power shifting, bang shifting, right? They don't leave off.
Yeah,
The throttle is, I
that's
think,
right.
yeah.
Well, actually, most of your work is threshold braking
Hmm.
at the Nürburgring. You're getting up really fast, and then you got to come down even faster.
So are they downshifting to do that? I wonder.
Only in a few in the really tight turns. Otherwise, you're just downshifting as you're in the turn.
But think of all the things you have to think about as a driver. The complexity
Oh, yeah.
level that is raised up if you're going to be using a manual transmission, and
Yep.
how that adds to your workload, and you're doing the threshold braking. You're heel toeing it probably. You're blipping the throttle, although it probably has the auto blip feature, which I guess they'll use. Um, and you're working that clutch pretty hard. You're
Well, in a like an SCCA 100 lap race
hmm
at Watkins Glen, for instance,
right.
which is 5.5 miles,
hmm
22 turns.
hmm
Um, in that race, you're going to shift somewhere between 2 and 3,000 times.
Wow. Wow. Think about that.
So, yeah, it's
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty
and that's
amazing.
why you lose so many transmissions in races. Why you
Yes.
used to you lose them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd blow gears, you'd blow synchronizers.
They have to do this while there's a manual around. I don't know if Porsche will ever completely eliminate its manuals, but we did a story recently on um, the state of the manual in regular cars. There's only a few left,
Yeah.
but man, I just think it. I just think the amount of work to do that and how you have to remember all that to do it exactly the same. How many practice laps do you think they'll take to get this dialed in?
Well, um, you can take as many as you want. You're paying for each lap.
Yes. And then
Um,
you got to go around the guy in the minivan standing up with a funny
yeah,
hat on. You ever
yeah.
see those videos?
And you don't, you'd think, well, I can go early in the morning before most of the people show up. Yes, you can, but the track is cold. Your
Hmm.
your tires are cold,
Yeah. There's
and
dew
you know what
everywhere.
that's like on
Yeah.
the tracks we've been on together.
Yeah.
So no, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's if you know the Nuremberg you'll hate the Nuremberg. It,
The green
it's
death.
just a it's just a beast of a track.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what the record's like. And let's just say we were saying before that there's some people don't know how to drive a manual transmission. I believe that
No, they
Porsche
don't.
driver will say, "Yeah, I know how to drive a stick." But
That Porsche driver's right arm is about twice as big as his left arm. And the same is true of his left leg.
yes, yes, very, very true. Very true.
Yep.
Hey, we hope you've enjoyed this at the wheel review of this at the wheel review. Hey, I hope we've enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Time for me to say, I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road. Take care.
Bye. Hang on here.